Light mechs, medium mechs, heavy mechs, and assault mechs. Past couple of podcasts, we were looking at these war machines from a general perspective, looking at what takes them out. What is that one or two things independent of mech weight class that we need to keep in mind? We need to make sure we do our best to not have on the tabletop. And I think I'd like to extend this now, of course, to tanks and vehicles, my favorite, infantry, and we definitely, a number of you have noticed this in the comments, we need to get more involved in air support. VTOLs, conventional air support, aerotech fighters, everything on there, and bring that phase of the game. Bring that into our Battletech toolkit. Vehicles. Okay, obviously, it goes without saying, we don't want to get hit. Generally, vehicles mount a lot less armor than battle mechs across the entire weight class spectrum, although there are a few tanks out there. The Behemoth, the Antaros, the one with, like, it's not a misprint, like 15 medium lasers, they have a lot of armor. If you look at something like the Demolisher, it has a lot of armor. So I feel like this idea of armor on armor is not actually the most important case. For me, it's motive hits. Vehicles are extremely vulnerable to motive hits, getting those treads, getting those wheels chewed up. And if you are playing a tracked vehicle, I guess this is a side note, side podcast, but it's worth mentioning. The difference in battle value for tracked versus wheeled and what you gain in motive hits, making it a lot harder if it's a tracked vehicle. I really feel like it's not always worth the savings on a wheeled vehicle compared to tracked vehicles on there. And I know on the narrative, that's where it comes into play. And this is coming from someone that I enjoy playing the Striker. It's a long-range, short-range kind of missile boat on there, tracked vehicle, decent armor for what it is on there, but generally I like to go with tracked vehicles for the motive hits. And then, of course, if you're playing hover vehicles, they tend to mount a lot less armor and be a little bit more vulnerable. So right away, essentially, you have to think every time you get hit, you're not only going to be checking off armor bubbles, you're going to be losing momentum, losing movement on there. This leads to the duality of, well, either I have to try and stay hidden as long as I can, not always possible, because while you might want to hide from opposing mechs, there might be times where you need to start shooting right away. A great example of that, the Partisan. This is an anti-air anti-air vehicle on there. It mounts 4 quad autocannon 5s. Low battle value, surprisingly decent armor for the battle value, and decent speed on there. I play them anti-air support. I also play them as a way, ground game, to just start laying down some cheap fire on mechs and to start chewing up motive hits on other vehicles that are out there. So sometimes you want to be seen because you need to be shooting on there. But every time I get hit, I have to calculate, hey, I'm going to start to take those motive hits. We're going to start to get grinding down to become immobilized. So try to get into position as fast as you can. And I almost play all vehicles with the knowledge ahead of time that I'm probably going to become immobilized at some point. This is what makes turrets so vital in so many ways. You know, the ability to have your primary weapons, whether that's like the Shrek with the PPCs or Demolisher with the AC-20s on there, or even something like the Goblin, just with that large laser. Having it on a turret is huge. So at least when I get immobilized, I'm not completely landlocked on there. And with that, pushing that forward. But for me, vehicles are the biggest challenge with motive hits, and that's really what kills them. It grinds them down, it takes them out of the game, it starts messing with the weapon ranges because now you can't pursue, and once you get immobilized and get left behind, at that point, it is battle value that is essentially gone.